For all intents and purposes, BMW's latest generation X5 is a city slicker SUV, an urban warrior that's more at home around city shopping malls and wide open tar roads than in the great outdoors. That's particularly true of this unit here. It's the xDrive40d equipped with an M Sport package, which means it gets a lower suspension and large 20-inch wheels. More reason, therefore, to stick to the tar. However, we decided that for once we were going to take this vehicle outside of its comfort zone and embark on a road trip which included a significant amount of gravel. The question is whether the vehicle still has what it takes despite the conditions. And what a varied range of conditions they were. Our 650-kilometre journey from Johannesburg to the southwestern Free State, and specifically to a private game and hunting farm between Philippolis and the Vanderkloof Dam, served up everything from highways to bumpy, narrowed, potholed country roads and, of course, slippery, corrugated gravel. Admittedly, it's the kind of long weekend excursion owners of a BMW X5 might well undertake, and that any SUV should take in its stride. But in its M Sport execution, with that stiff suspension and ultra-low profile tyres, the xDrive40d is more of a track athlete and less of a trail runner. Every successive generation of the BMW X5 has got larger and more imposing, and if you look at this vehicle, it actually places the emphasis on luxury rather than dynamics. At least what we have here is a vehicle that also has some athletic appeal thanks to the M Sport package, which of course gives it a lower stance, a slightly different body kit, and also those larger wheels. I suppose, looking at it from a great outdoors perspective, the vehicle is a little bit out of place, although a luxury game lodge is probably part of its natural habitat. In M Sport guise, the xDrive40d combines the imposing presence and raised stance so typical of a large SUV, but adds the athletic appeal of a performance machine. The muscular elements of the X5's profile are emphasized by a body kit that adds dynamic purpose and athletic intent to the SUV shape. Hungrier front air intakes, deeper sills, and an integrated rear bumper with big exhaust tailpipes suggest that this xDrive40d wouldn't look out of place at a racetrack. But let's not forget that this is a large four-wheel driven SUV offering space and utility, together with plenty of fire in its belly. As such, the X5's talent count should also include a substantial slice of versatility and high comfort levels. In its M Sport guise, the interior of this X5 mirrors the athletic appearance of the exterior, which means you get these very nice, sporty, very prominently bolstered seats, a still very comfortable and luxurious interior, and a whole bunch of extra kit, most of which you have to pay extra money for as well. A very strong focus on safety, everything from night vision to blind spot warning systems. But for the most, this is focused on the driver, and that's the way it should be. Admittedly, it's not the kind of interior that you'd want to subject to the rough and tumble, the dirt and the dust of full-time off-road use. But given that vehicles like this tend to spend the majority of their service life cosseting their occupants in comfort while traversing the urban jungle, the combination of Alcantara, leather, carbon fiber and extensive electronic gadgetry suits the X5's intended application. But of course, the xDrive40d is also about performance and dynamic capability, something that the big Beamer was only too happy to show off, even on gravel. While some SUVs might prefer to potter along at somewhat more sedate speeds, the X5 wasn't in the least perturbed by sand and gravel. An athletic SUV deserves an equally athletic engine, and that's certainly the case here. Under the bonnet of the X5 xDrive40d is a 3-litre turbo diesel with a maximum power output of 230 kilowatt, linked to a torque peak of 630 newton meters. Delivers all that power and urge to all four wheels using the xDrive four-wheel drive system and an 8-speed automatic transmission with sport shift, which means that you have shift paddles to allow really snappy shifts between the various ratios. The performance figures confirm that the xDrive40d is no slouch in dynamic terms. Despite its substantial girth and weight, the big Bavarian will surge from 0 to 100 km an hour in just 5.9 seconds, while the top speed is a more than respectable, if somewhat academic, 236 km an hour. Much more important is just how tractable the X5 is. Thanks to all that torque, throttle response is instantaneous. Now here in the southern Free State there's a lot of gravel, and admittedly this is not the kind of rough stuff that you'd go 4x4ing in, but it is a seriously smooth and sometimes even slippery section of road which you need to be a bit careful of. What's impressed us about this car is just how confident, how composed, how together it feels regardless of the conditions. On the way here we went through some torrential rain, very wet, slick tar sections. We're now on gravel where there's a fine layer of sand over a muddy base, and the car just does whatever it does, continues quite confidently at any kind of speed. But bottom line is, this vehicle is truly versatile. It is what a sports activity vehicle should be all about. We travelled 650 kilometres to the southwestern part of the Free State to call the X5's SUV bluff and to catch it out on some fast-flowing gravel roads. As it turns out, it impressed us, both on the road and off it, with its composure, its confidence and its outright performance. It's also very good in fuel consumption terms. You're looking at somewhere between 7 and 8 litres per 100 kilometres if you can stick to the speed limit, which frankly in this car is very, very difficult indeed. There's only one small hitch with this vehicle. As it stands here, the price tag is 1.3 million rands. Okay, so that does include some extras, but for that kind of money, it needs to be a whole lot of car. And a whole lot of SUV it is, with all that turbo diesel power ensuring urge and response in abundance, while the all-wheel drive system ensures composure on tar and dirt. Add space, luxury and advanced electronics to the package and there's lots to like, but real off-road capability remains limited, and all those extras come at a price.